It's the start of a brand new episode. I've got a couple client meetings later on today, but until then I'm going to do something really wacky, really crazy, really out of character, and I'm going to go to the coffee shop and do some work. So I want to talk about content strategy, and I know that's a bit of a weird segue from my routine into content strategy, but I've been meaning to talk about it for a couple of episodes now, and episode 5, so I thought, why not, let's do it now. So what is a content strategy? Now, a documented content strategy is the very long document that you would use as the foundation for all your content marketing activities. It governs everything from who your personas are, the customer journeys that you map out for those personas, your messaging, your branding, the underpinning message that you're trying to put across to these personas, what channels you're going to be on, what kind of content you're going to put out, how that content should look, where that content should go, how it's accessed on your website, and everything in between. Basically, all the content you put out there, the content strategy document, and I do emphasize that should be a document, and I'll come to that in a second, will govern all of that, from the most detailed aspect to the broader aspects like should we post on Instagram or not. Okay, so that's essentially what content strategy is, and you can go online and you can research it a little bit deeper, and every content strategist is a little bit different. And what we do when we deal with clients, the very first thing we do, and some clients are already producing content when we get there, and some clients are not producing any content, but they all know they need to be upping their game in terms of quantity and quality. And so they say to us, what's the very first step? And we say, look, first step is a content strategy. Do you have one? If they have one, great. We'll go back, we'll revise it, we'll look at it, we'll try to improve it. We'll do some research on, where it's falling short, and if they're missing out on any sort of target market they should be talking to, and we'll go from there. For companies without a content strategy, which is a huge amount of companies, and most of our clients didn't have a content strategy when we got there. So we start by researching, by looking at some of their branding. They've usually got some sort of documentation around their branding and their messaging, their USPs, that kind of stuff. So we take all of that, we compile it, we research extra stuff on their competitors, what they're talking about, what kind of target market their content is aimed towards, what channels they're on, how they're approaching those channels, and so on and so forth. And we construct a very long document, and a living document. It's not something that we just sort of put a cap on and say it's done now. It's always evolving, because there's always new channels to think about, new trends to think about, and whatnot. So we produce, in tandem, we work with that client to produce that content and to produce that content strategy. And once that's sort of in place, the foundations are there, then we can move on to sort of producing content, the blog content, talking about how we're going to approach LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. But the very foundation is that content strategy. So first and foremost, the takeaway I want you guys to take from this, whether you're an enterprise brand, whether you're a large company or even a small company, you need to have a documented content strategy. And there are templates out there online. They're not always the best. You shouldn't use those templates in the long run, but that gives you a sort of structure of what you need to begin with. But like I said previously, it should govern absolutely everything to do with your content: who's writing it, who should edit it, the workflows behind that, what tools you're going to use, what channels you're going to be on, what channels you're not going to be on. Are you going to produce YouTube content? Are you not? What kind of Twitter stuff you're going to put out there? Everything like that. You should document it, and everybody should be on board with it. And it should be a group effort, a team effort. If you are the company, great. Make sure everybody in-house is happy with it. If you're working with an agency, if you are an agency working with a company, work with them on that. Don't just turn up, 4 weeks later with something they've never even seen before and say, hey, this is a strategy, let's go. Make sure you're working together with them on that. And once everybody is happy with the direction, the content, the content direction, the content sort of the skeleton of it, then you can start producing the meat, which is the content itself, the blog posts, the LinkedIn posts, the YouTube videos, the webinars, the Instagram stuff, whatever it needs to be. And that's how you move forward. So very firstly, document our content strategy and spend time documenting it and researching it, your personas and everything else. Secondly, make sure you actually use that content strategy going forward. It's not something that just should be just done at the very beginning and then forgotten about. Oh yeah, we've got a content strategy and once every year we sort of go back and look at it and make sure we're in line. No, you should be referencing that content strategy whenever you make a new piece of content. So if you're writing a new blog post, the first thing you do is you open that content strategy document, you go to the section that deals with your blogging strategy, and you see this is the format we want to do it in. This is the 3 personas that we're looking at. Who am I targeting with this? Which one of these personas, or 2 of these personas, or 4 or 5, depending on how many personas we've got, am I targeting with this blog post? What kind of message does it have behind it? What's the call to action that it has underneath it? And so on and so forth. So it should be something that you're regularly going back to, regularly referencing whenever there's a new campaign, whenever there's a new blog post series, whenever there's a new YouTube series you want to put out there. That content strategy should be the basis of everything. It's not something you just do once and leave it aside. It's a living document. It should grow when new things happen, like in episode 4, where I mentioned that Facebook has now pretty much eliminated organic reach for businesses. Your content strategy should evolve to reflect that. Okay, if you had a big Facebook drive in the content strategy, big campaign where you're putting out content organically and trying to get some reach, that should now shift to LinkedIn. Your content strategy should reflect that. Like I said, it's a living document. So there's 2 steps here. Step 1, make sure you've got a documented content strategy that everybody in your team has collaborated on and agreed on, and then start producing content. And secondly, which is more important, go back to it regularly, consult it and reference it regularly, and update it regularly whenever you need to produce new content and to evolve your own content marketing strategy. So let me know if that helped you guys out. If it did, leave me a comment below, and share some of your own content strategy ideas and content strategy tactics that you have seen work for your company or for you even as a personal brand. And as you guys know, my client base is enterprise and large companies, but this stuff goes for personal brands and small companies and startups who are looking to sort of amplify their voices and brands. It works for everybody. These same principles work for everybody. So, take it, run with it, and let me know if that helps you guys out. And I'll try to keep more content like this coming as well. I'll check back in with you later on in the day. Hey guys, so I forgot to do the outro yesterday. Yesterday was not the most productive day I've had recently. And, sometimes I think you've got to make peace with the fact that when you're working for yourself and you're trying to build your own business, you won't always be as productive as you want to be. You will have peaks and troughs, and, you've got to make peace with the fact that you will have those troughs. And you will not always be, at your best in terms of productivity. And you've got to roll those punches and just take it and use, strategies and tools and whatever else, you can tactics to just sort of maximize those peaks when they come and to give yourself more peaks. But recognize the fact that you're a human and you won't always get everything done. And, you will have those unproductive days or even weeks. And, all you can do is just sort of learn from those. If you're making any mistakes for that to come about, learn from it and try and improve and keep going. Today's a new day. I'm going to try and be as productive as possible to make up for it and get a lot of work done. My face is either there or there. Hover over it, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.